An S175 idle smooth hydraulics warm, and it won't move an inch. The panel scrolls 7517. Nothing on that loader is broken. A plate inside the drive pump just isn't where the controller expects. That's the 75 family, every drive side code this machine shows. We're decoding all of them, cheapest fix first. And most of them don't mean a part died. They mean two things, disagreed about reality. Here's where you read them. The hour meter window on the panel doubles as the code display. The factory manual is clear on one thing. If more than one code is present, they scroll. So don't grab the first number and start ordering parts. Stand there and watch a full cycle, because one upstream fault will happily set 4 downstream ones. Scroll order tells you nothing about priority, which is why we start with the tier that fakes all the others. 7569 is battery voltage out of range high. The panel is telling you the supply itself is wrong. Charging system, connections, a tired battery. The manual has a whole charging system check for exactly this. And there's interrupted power, the code for the moment the controller lost its feet mid-thought. That's 7570. The factory entry notes it also turns up after software work, not just a fault. So if a tech just flashed something, that code may be a receipt rather than a symptom. And 7567 is no communication from the Bobcat controller. The drive side stopped hearing the main brain. Before you condemn a controller, read the manual's own warning. Corroded or loose grounds cause strange symptoms. You know the remote that works if you press the button hard enough? Same physics, bigger invoice. Grounds are the cheapest fix on this whole list. Clean 'em before you believe anything, the panel says. Now the part that makes the rest of this easy. These codes come in 2 grammars. Out of range means the signal left the window the controller will accept. High or low, that's a bathroom scale reading 400 pounds. You don't weigh that, the scale is lying. Not in neutral is different, the signal is perfectly believable. It's just not centered when it should be. That's the microwave refusing to start because the door is closed but not latched. Nothing broken, nothing moving. If that just made the panel readable, that's exactly what this channel is for. Stick around. Start with the joysticks because that's where an operator's hand and a controller's expectations actually meet. 75.8 is right, joystick Y-axis, not in neutral. Key on and the stick is already asking for reverse. 9 times out of 10, that's mud, a dropped bolt or a boot heel resting on the base. Cheapest check on her. Clear the boot, cycle the key, see whether it clears itself. If it doesn't, the return spring or centering hardware has taken a set. Still not a controller. And here's where it flips. The same stick throws a totally different code for a totally different reason. 7522 is right, joystick Y-axis out of range, high. Now the signal itself is outside the accepted window. That isn't a stuck lever, that's a wire, a connector, or the sensor inside the handle. Out of range low on that same axis is 7532, usually an open circuit or short to ground. High and low are your fork in the road. One points at voltage bleeding in, the other at a break. The left stick gets identical treatment. 7519 is left joystick X-axis out of range high. Its opposite number, left X-axis out of range low, is 7529. Same logic, other half of the harness. And left joystick Y-axis out of range low is 7531. Cards on screen if you're writing these down. Notice the pattern in the causes, not the numbers. Out of range means wiring, not in neutral means mechanical. The fastest field test costs nothing. Wiggle the harness at the handle base while a helper watches the panel. It's the charging cable that only works at one angle. The fault is real, it's just shy. One more joystick code and it's the odd one. 75.9 ISO or H pattern switch, short to ground or battery. That switch decides which stick does what. Short it and the controller can't trust either pattern. So the machine simply refuses to arm. It would rather sit still than guess your control layout. Now the section people get wrong and the reason 7517 was on screen at the very start. Inside the drive pump there's a plate that tilts. Tilt it one way, oil goes one way. Tilt it the other way, the loader reverses. Flat in the middle, the machine sits still. That's the swash plate. A sensor watches its angle and reports back to the controller constantly. 7517 is left swash plate, not in neutral. At key on, that plate isn't flat when it should be. The right side version is 7518. Same meaning, same argument, other half of the drive. Cheapest cause first. Linkage, dirt, or a control that never fully returned to center. Middle case. The sensor drifted so flat no longer reads as flat. The plate's fine. The story isn't. Worst case is internal, and that's a pump conversation. You don't start there. You finish there. And that's still not the strange part. The same plate has a second, sneakier code. 75-2007 has left swash plate out of position, not at startup. While you're actually driving, that one means the controller asked for an angle, and the plate quietly went somewhere else. It's the shower handle you set to the same spot every morning, and today the water's cold. The right side version of that's 75-28. Watch for it under load, not at idle. Then 4 codes cover the sensors themselves, and they follow the grammar you already know. 75-39 is left swash plate sensor out of range high. That reading isn't physically possible. Its low counterpart is 75-40, open circuit, chafed wire, or a connector full of green. The right pump carries the identical pair, starting with 75-41 on the high side. Full lists on the card. Before you trust any hydraulic reading, warm the fluid. The manual says 140 Fahrenheit, 60 Celsius. Cold oil lies to gauges. Half the swash plate mysteries out there are really a technician in a hurry. Now the solenoids, and this is where the codes get almost conversational. 8 of them, 4 per side, and they arrive in pairs. Error ON and error OF. 75-43 is left forward drive solenoid error ON. The controller commanded off and measured current anyway. That's the porch light already glowing when you flip the switch. Something upstream is feeding it. Usually a short to battery, sometimes a stuck valve. Check the wire before you pull the valve. Its mirrors 75-53, left forward drive solenoid error off. Commanded on and nothing came back. Open coil, broken wire, or a connector that let go. Cheapest test is a resistance check. Left reverse gets the same pair, starting with 75-44. All 4 right side codes are on the card. And here's the isolation trick that saves an hour. The left and right circuits are twins. Swap the suspect connector with its opposite side. If the code jumps sides, it's the part. If it stays, it's wiring. 2 codes left, and they're the ones everybody ignores. 75-52 is backup alarm error, ON. 75-66 is that same alarm reporting the opposite. Easy to skip, easy to fail an inspection on. Now the honest part. This machine's table has gaps, numbers in the 75 range that simply aren't listed. Don't fill them in from another Bobcat, meaning shift between generations, and a confident guess costs a pump. So here's the ladder, cheapest to worst. Rounds and battery, then connectors, then sensors, then solenoids, then the pump. Work it in that order, and most 75 codes die on the first 2 rungs for the price of a wire brush. And remember the one line that decodes this whole family. The panel never says what broke, it says what disagreed. Subscribe if you'd rather read the panel than replace parts. Next up, the 38 family and why it overlaps this one. The exact specs and test steps are in the service manual linked below. Like this, if it saved you a guess.